Welcome to the show with your host, RJ Montoya.
Hey, what's up, guys? RJ here with another wonderful podcast here. I got my boy Robert here, and he's also a business entrepreneur, and he's a godly man, and so we wanted to get him on the podcast and just kind of shoot the breeze with him.
Oh, yeah.
And, just talk about Christ and how you came to be and so forth. I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Anytime.
Yeah.
So me and you, we were talking. We've kind of known each other through the church and stuff, serving and whatnot. And you actually live pretty far from the church. And
it was about 35, 40 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long drive. And we live in Texas, so driving for us is
it's crazy.
Yes,
yeah.
It is.
Anywhere you drive, you're going to drive far.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
For sure.
I had a friend move down here from New York, and they were like, "Oh, I don't like Texas because you're not independent." And I said, "What do you mean?" Yeah, and I said, "What do you mean?" And she was just like, "Well, it's because you got to have a car to go." And I said, "Of course." I said, "You're not independent unless you have transportation."
Unless you live in the city.
That's right.
You have to live like in downtown.
Yes.
That's the only way you're going to be
Absolutely
independent like that. So, yeah, for sure.
So with you driving a lot, and I really just kind of want to get into the Christian part of the aspect. Christian podcast. I try to as yourself lead people
Glorify
to Christ
in every second.
Absolutely. So when I first met you, I think it was through Sam and Barrow, who was an elder at the church at the time.
Yeah.
And we did like a golf
That's my
tournament
guy,
and
man.
stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Sammy Sam. and that's I remember you telling me you were like that you live like in another town, and I was just like, man, you drive super far.
Yeah.
Can you kind of tell me the commitment of why you chose to drive so far to that church? Because I know there's other churches around you.
I mean, it was my home church. It was the first real church I went to when I got saved.
Okay.
And when because we lived here in Grand Prairie for a while, so most of my life actually. And then my wife, she wanted to get away, get a little further out.
Yeah.
And we made that decision, and we just stuck with it. And we said, hey, no matter where we go, we're going to stick with our home church.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is cool, because there's a lot of people that kind of, they get church hurt, or they just, and it happens, humans are humans, but you keep coming back. And me and my wife, when we were looking for churches too, we've been through so many different churches, and we were like, wow, this feels like home.
Yeah.
Like something about the diversity here. It's very welcoming.
It's just kind of crazy how big the church is,
Yes.
but how small they make it feel.
Yes.
Like, it's crazy. Like, I was intimidated walking in there the first time.
Okay.
But, being like, I wasn't even really saved yet. I don't think, I hadn't been baptized. I hadn't gone through any of that. So walking in the first time was just like, whoa, what is this? But, after a few visits, it was just like, okay.
Wow. So you have a powerful testimonial, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Because that's like, man, you're going to want to hear this. So you were talking about that when you first entered, and we won't have to say the name because it's a separate thing.
Yeah.
But when you first started going and you found faith, what brought you to church? I guess I would say.
Really, my wife, man. My wife has always been a part of the church. She grew up Catholic.
Okay.
When I decided that I wanted to start making these changes in my life, well, I say me. It had nothing to do with me.
It's God, though.
all God.
But the wife probably, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was all God. But as he started moving in my life, and I started making these changes where I wanted to, be more involved with the church.
Absolutely.
The church we were attending, it wasn't doing that for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not doing that for me, and
I
had to have that hard conversation with my wife about leaving her church.
Oh, okay. And you said she was Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you meant by the church. Okay,
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, so then leaving that church and was like, hey, why don't you watch this pastor I've been watching online? And it just so happened to be the old pastor of our current church. So, I watched him. I was just like, whoa, this guy's like really talking to me. Like, he's telling me how I'm supposed to live my life. Like this.
One of those sermons where you're like, oh, you're talking straight to me.
And then when I saw him, it was the same thing. I just felt like, he's telling me like I'm supposed to be living that way. Like, okay, like I'm going to be all in, like 100%, and not look back.
So you were convicted.
Oh,
But did you know what that was then?
I didn't know what that was at the time.
Okay.
But my wife's friend would come over and she'd be like, anytime I'd say something, she goes, "Oh, that's conviction." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, whatever."
Yeah, I guess.
I didn't understand it.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
now I do.
For sure.
But like at that time, no, I didn't understand it.
So talk to me a little bit about that. I can relate because my wife, she grew up Catholic. Actually, when I first met her, she was going to the monastery with the nuns, and she'd do retreats with them, and she'd like spend a night at the where they live in the church and eat with them and all that, and so she kind of like got my relationship closer with the faith, just meeting her and seeing her devotion. And we used to go to Catholic church a lot, me and her. And I'd show up, and this is nothing against the Catholic Church or anything like that. Find yourself a Bible-based church and read the book yourself. But for me, I wasn't receiving anything. But at the same time, I didn't understand words like conviction and discernment and so forth. But I do remember my wife taking me, and she was very devoted and like, hey, we have to go. And so I can understand that, because when I first found a Christian or non-denominational church, it was different. It was a shift, right?
Yeah.
And so for my wife, she didn't know how to. It was a different world for her.
It was surprisingly easy. I thought it was going to be the hardest conversation I ever had to have with my wife.
Wow.
Like, we've had some tough conversations. I thought that was going to be a hard one because I'm fixing to ask her to leave her church.
Right. It's a big decision.
Yeah. And I remember we were sitting in the car, and I said, "Hey, I got to talk to you about something." And she's like, what is it?
What did you do?
I had just started going to church. My wife would go all the time. Every Sunday she'd get up and go take the kids, and I would just stay at home, or I would go and I would just be there. I wasn't listening. I wasn't trying to be involved in any way, but I remember that conversation, and I'm like, I can't go to your church anymore.
Oh, wow.
Like, dang. I don't know if you want to go, keep going, and I'll find me a church.
Gut punch.
And she was just like,
I don't want to go to your church no more. Dang.
I know. It was kind of, I didn't know how to be any other way at that time, 100%. Right? Like, it was very.
I'm making light of it.
But no. I was very straightforward in that sense. Like, but I was just like, hey, I can't do that anymore. And that's when she was like, hey, check him out. And I was surprised that she was willing to let's make this decision as a family. We're gonna go. Me and her went, and we saw the church and talked to one of the family pastors at the church, who's very close to me now.
Okay.
And every question we had, he could point it out in the Bible.
Wow.
Here's the verse there's your answer. Right.
There you go. So he's in the Word. He was a believer.
Man. He hit every nail. And she's just like, whoa. She goes, okay.
Wow.
We looked at each other, and I was like, I think we're at our church. And she's like, yeah. We found our church, and the next week we brought our kids, and we haven't stopped.
It's amazing.
Since that day. So
and you're very dedicated. I always see you there, and you're always serving and giving. And
I didn't know where God was going to put me at the church. I bounced around serving here or there. Yeah. And then, joining up with the youth and serving in the youth was it's been a blessing. Wow. It's helped me grow for sure.
It's amazing. And I think that's something that the youth needs. They need mentors. They need one of the things that I always tell people, that if you're disconnected, and I look right into the camera, if you're disconnected from the current generation, then how are you going to lead them to Christ? Exactly. You can't be disconnected.
Yeah. And also just I think for me personally, I'm super real. Yeah. I'm gonna be real. I'm not gonna be fake about anything. I'm gonna tell you like it is. And they like that, man. Right. They want that.
The youth can tell who's being fake.
Man, they're craving people that are gonna be real with them and not beat around the bush.
100%.
And I'm not that guy.
Hey, I love it, man. Me neither.
I'm not that guy.
Does that ever get you in trouble?
All the time. All the time.
Right.
And it does at the church too.
Absolutely.
They'll be like, hey, you got to take it down a notch. I'm like, I'll take it down, but that don't mean it's going to come back up.
Hey, you know who else was a rebel? Jesus.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't even want to be a rebel anymore.
No, but of course.
It's just,
For God,
for sure. Yeah, so it's like, I want to be real with them, and I want them to be able to come to me and feel like, hey, I can be real with him. He's being real with me. Why can't I be real with him? And just guide him on the right path, man. because
Powerful.
it's a tough world out there.
It is, and you have to meet them where they're at. And,
Yeah.
and a lot of the times, I think, especially for, we were talking about Catholicism and so forth.
Yeah.
With any religion, people that don't understand Christianity, they may feel they're not good enough, or
Right.
that you have to meet a certain standard. And it's not a one size fits all. God created us in His image, and we're all different and unique.
Right.
So no, I love that about you, man.
Yeah.
And I've recognized that just off the bat. I was just,
Appreciate
man,
it.
you know, this
Yeah.
guy's a professional, but there's a little something more in there. I see it.
And I wasn't a professional before.
Right.
You know? Yeah. I've been blessed, man.
Amen.
Yeah.
We were talking a lot about the gang life and stuff,
yeah.
the past, and
Yeah,
how.
we can get into some of that.
Okay, I love
We
it.
don't have to get into details, but we can get into some of that. Yeah.
Wherever you want to go.
I mean,
yeah,
you know,
wherever the Spirit leads.
when I'm giving my testimony, I don't mind sharing the past.
For sure.
I just emphasize that I'm never going to glorify. I'm not telling anyone
Right.
my past. Excuse me, to glorify the past, because
Right.
that lifestyle that I lived was not good.
Absolutely.
And so I don't want to glorify any of that, but I do want to tell you where I came from.
Okay.
And show you that God can pull you out of these dark places.
I love it.
Like, He is the light. Christ is the light, and He will pull you out of that darkness for sure.
Transformation, for sure.
For sure, man. That's like, because I lived in the dark for so long. I mean, it was just growing up, you know. It started when I was a teenager.
Okay.
I'll just jump right into it.
Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it.
It started when I was probably like 13, 14 years old, man.
Okay.
Started hanging out with some thugs, you know.
Right.
Kind of grew up poor anyway. At that early age, by the teenage years, my mom was getting established, and
Okay.
it was changing. But by then, I'd already found a clique of people that I was hanging with, and it started out with little petty thefts and stealing cars and
Okay.
just like, you know,
Some GTA.
some thug stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To a point where, man, I was hanging out with some dudes that would murder you where you stood,
Right.
like straight up. Some of them went to prison for murder.
Right.
You know, actually quite a few did. A lot of them aren't here anymore. I probably got one close friend that is still by my side that I grew up with, that
Wow.
I used to do dirt with, like
Right.
that.
So that's more like a 20-year plus friendship.
That's 30 plus years.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, 30 plus
You
years.
look young, bro. You look
I
young.
appreciate that. I'm 47 years old,
Hey, there
man.
you
Yeah.
go. Okay.
I appreciate it. Yeah. You know, growing up in the 90s, man, 90s, everybody wanted to be a gangster. It was like,
Yeah,
that's what it was, man. I remember in high school, I would rock Dickies and white tees and just like hanging with them killers, man.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got out of high school, man, and I saw the potential to make money. Started selling dope. My little brother sold dope. That's just the lifestyle we were living, you know.
Right. It's the environment you were
It kind of
in.
came hand in hand, right? Like
Okay.
doing drugs, you start seeing potential to make money.
Right.
When money becomes your idol,
Yeah, that's true.
you know what I mean? That's like-
Material and women and
That's
all
everything,
that
man.
stuff. Yeah.
Man, it was rough. We did a lot of dirt. I mean, you know, it starts with the petty crimes, and it always builds up. You never stop with the small stuff. So unless you're lucky, you know.
Right.
We got into some heavy stuff, but you know, God is good.
Oh yeah.
But I can tell you, during that time of my early 20s, man, I was selling a lot of drugs, man. And I was working out of strip clubs, just doing that thug thing, and
Yeah.
just, you know, trying to live that lifestyle, thinking that was what I was supposed to be doing.
Right. It's a fast life.
Yeah, to a point where me and my wife, we got separated.
Okay.
And because we got married when I was 21. We had a kid.
High school sweetheart.
High school sweetheart, yeah.
Gotcha.
We've been married 25 years. With
God bless.
With a 3-year separation in there too, but
Yeah.
because of that, because of my lifestyle, my wife didn't always agree with it, man.
Right.
You know,
She was that angel on your shoulder.
for sure, and I can look back now and see why God placed her in my life,
Yes.
her and her parents, man. Like, you know, I love my mom, but like, you want to talk about the image of what a Christian life is supposed to be like. My in-laws are like,
Really?
like they're the sweetest, kindest people.
Wow.
You could screw them over and they would still help you out.
Man.
Like, amazing people. I love them to death. Like
full of love.
They have no reason to love me whatsoever. The way I treated their daughter in the beginning of our relationship.
Wow.
Like, but they do. And like, man, just if I could be anything like that.
That's
man,
beautiful, bro.
Yeah, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were separated for like 3 years. And then I was like, I'm going to give this up. I want to try to get back with my wife and raise my kids because we had 3 kids.
Okay.
And yeah, so we had 3 kids, all young. She was doing it on her own.
Right.
She took me back, man.
Really?
It's like, man.
Was it easy to get her back, or is?
No, it was a work. You know, we worked it out. It was. I had to prove to her that I wasn't gonna do some of those things anymore. I mean, that lasted for a little while. Yeah. She kind of gave in and kind of let.
She loved you. Apparently,
she loved me.
Obviously,
yeah. That's crazy. She loves me. Like, because I was wild, man.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that she does love me enough that she stuck it out, and but yeah, it was like I got out of it and I got a job and I was doing good, man. And I remember my brother he left out of town and he was like, hey, I need you to handle some business.
Okay. So he was still in the life.
Still in the life, man.
Gotcha.
That was just it. That's just what it was. He was a single dude. He didn't have nothing going for him like that. So he was just like gonna live that life. And he left out of town and I started handling business for him.
Okay.
So
he kind of left you in charge of that.
Yeah, he hit me up and he's like, man, can you ship my car out here? I'm gonna stay out here in Cali. And I was like, what you mean? Like, so now I'm sucked back in a little bit, and so I'm handling business for him while he's gone. And I'm like, okay, now we're doing things. He winds up coming back maybe a year and a half later.
Did you hide it from your wife?
Like, nah, she knew. Okay. She knew what was going on. I couldn't hide that.
I got you.
There was too much going on. He was already moving. He was a mover.
Right.
So he was always doing things, and
he was a shot caller.
Yeah, man, he was doing his thing. You know what I mean? He was connected, and I had kind of left all my connects behind. I was just like, man, I didn't want to get into it anymore, and just kind of got pulled back in. But I did that for a while, man. Up until the day I got saved, man.
Really?
Yeah. It was probably. I remember I can remember the year, like that year exactly, like how it all unfolded, man.
Wow.
I went with some friends on a hunting trip, man. Really, I wasn't hunting. I was out there just getting messed up and drinking, smoking,
shooting everything,
shooting guns. Because we had a bunch of guns. There's 4 of us, and on the way back, man, we got pulled over. And we had some dope in the car. We had, we had 16 guns on us. Man. And they're like, what are y'all doing? They tore my truck apart trying to find dope.
You were out there in the country. And
we're coming back through. And we're coming back to a small town. So it's like, oh, man. And then I was sitting in jail. And I'm just like, man, what am I doing? Like, I'm a grown man. Like, I got 4 kids. My youngest was super young at that time. And I was just like, man, what am I doing? Like, I don't need to be smoking no more. I don't need to be doing this.
Right.
So when I got done, we got out, I quit smoking.
Wow.
I quit smoking, but I didn't quit selling. That was the key there. I did not quit selling it. I quit smoking.
Right.
And yeah, man, I kept living that life up until so that happened in about February. By August, God was already like
working.
He was working.
Yeah.
You could see him working, like, and I was trying. I wanted it, but I was trying to keep that one foot in the world, right? Like, they talk about that.
Absolutely.
You can't have one foot in the world and one foot over here because
can't serve 2 masters.
You can't serve 2 masters. It don't work, right?
Yeah.
So, that was a tough go, man. Like trying to get through that part of it, but
what kept pulling you back in? Like what
the money.
The money, just
that was my idol, man.
Got you. Did that feel like power for you, or just
100%
control?
Always
I guess.
Does.
Yeah,
money always does, right? When you got it, that's where it's at.
Kind of eliminates some of your problems, not all of them. But
it eliminates everything, and you can kind of, I don't know. There's levels to it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, for sure. So,
it's like keys to the city, almost. Yeah, for sure.
And so that's just what it was, man, and that's what kept pulling me back in, and it wasn't until my son had to have surgery that You know, I think we kind of touched on that a little bit,
Right.
right? But
Absolutely.
because I do have a son that's 22 now, who is disabled, was born disabled.
Okay.
He's been in his wheelchair his whole life, but man, he was, you know, he's always been all my kids, man. I love all my kids, but
100%.
I remember when he had to have this surgery. We went out of town on vacation. I told my brother, I was like, I gotta go. I need you to handle some business. So
Right.
I was like, I'll be back.
You
And,
take over.
Yeah,
I
you
got to take
over.
care of my family.
You know, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
We went on vacation. We came back, and we took the vacation just because we knew when we got back he was gonna have to have surgery.
Right.
And we were gonna have to be in the hospital for weeks. Because he was having a surgery on his spine. He was gonna have that fusion.
That's a big surgery too.
Big surgery.
Very
He has
big.
2 titanium rods in his spine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you know, we check in, we get in the hospital, man. And for them to do this, they get you in and they prep you, and they put this thing called a halo on your head.
Okay.
So they drill these screws into your head,
Wow.
put you under, and they put this halo on, and it's attached by these screws.
And how old was he?
He was probably 13 at the
Wow.
time. So,
Okay.
yeah, man. And
That's a lot.
yeah, so he and they put you on this pulley system where he's sitting in his chair, and they'll pull it, and they'll straighten your back up, so that whenever you get in
Yeah.
to do you know, to do the surgery, it's a little easier for the doctor to manage moving the spine and getting it where it needs to be. And
So do they do it sitting up?
the surgery?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But
That's just to straighten him out a
That's
little
just to
bit.
kind of straighten him
Okay.
out. It helps alleviate some of that because his spine was kind of compressed, and so it kind of pulled some of that pressure off. So when they did the titanium rods, it would
That makes sense.
It would help straighten him out a little bit better. But I can remember, man, him being there, and every time I'd say, "Man, you need pain medicine?" It's like, "Nah, Dad, I got Jesus."
What?
And I'm like,
At 13?
At 13,
Wow.
I got a 13-year-old young man
Yeah.
saying this to me, man, and it broke
amazing.
me. It broke me because
Wow.
I didn't know how to take that. I'm like, man, how are you that strong? When I felt like I had to be a gangster to be strong, right? Like I had to be this tough guy. That's what made me strong because I was a tough guy and everybody knew it.
Right.
Like when I was younger, if you needed some work, I would go handle business for you. Like me and my boys did not care.
Right.
So like you want somebody, you know, beat up or whatever, we'll go do it.
Clock in.
You know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
So I thought that's what it meant to be tough. And then I see this young man tell me, I got Jesus. I don't need pain medicine.
Man, that's amazing.
I'm like, what just happened?
Right.
Like, I thought I was tough.
Yeah.
Like I thought I was a G. Like, no, man. I guess.
What did you feel in that moment? Like, did you feel God? Did you feel like you were missing something, or like? Because
Yeah.
I'm assuming your wife took him to church, and that's
Oh
why
yeah,
he knew.
yeah. That's why he
Right.
knew he knew what it was.
Right.
And I just felt broke. Like I didn't feel like I was myself after that.
Really.
Yeah.
Wow.
I struggled a lot when we got out of the hospital. When we got done, man, it was kind of wild because he had got an infection, a staph infection, while we were at home after the surgery. So we had to go back, and they had to open him up and clean it, and they had to do it 3 times. So they had to do that. They left him open, basically, his back, and that scar goes all the way down his back. So from the top to the bottom, he's got a scar. So
And they opened him up multiple times to clean it.
Open him up to clean it. They had to put him under, open him up to clean it.
Oh, wow.
And I remember the 3rd time, man, that we were waiting. It was supposed to be quick, and it was just taking forever, man. And we're like, what's going on? They're like, he's in recovery now. We're waiting for him to kind of come off the meds and wake up.
Right.
Well, we kept asking, like, time's just going by, man, and we're just like, what's going on? Finally, they told us he's not coming out of it.
Really?
Yeah. Like, they can't get him to wake up.
Oh.
And to a point where they called the doctor had already left. His surgeon had already left, and he came back to make sure that he was okay. He wound up waking up, but it was scary.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
to say the least. It was really scary.
In those moments, knowing that your son, said that he had Jesus, and you saw him maybe not coming back and waking back up, like, what were your thoughts? Were you thinking about Jesus? Were you mad at Jesus?
I wasn't, man. I was just thinking, hey, he's got to wake up. He's got to wake. My wife was praying. My wife was really into it.
Right.
I mean, I was not 100% there. You know what I mean? Like, I was there, but I was still living in the world, man. So that wasn't, I wasn't really thinking too much about Jesus in that moment.
Right.
I was just thinking I wanted my son to wake up.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So, yeah.
You'd be the dad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my guy, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, it was a scary moment. I can remember getting home, and I was probably a little upset, and I started drinking again, and
Right.
I remember I did some drugs, man. I did some cocaine, and I got really jacked up. And I remember laying down and just being like, God, I don't know what you want from me.
Wow.
But if this is the life you want, I'm willing to do whatever. You just got to get me out of that life.
Really?
Get me out of the life I'm living.
Right.
Like, just make it happen.
Wow.
I went to sleep not thinking about it, man. I left. It was a couple weeks gone by. You could see changes happening, man. Life was just changing, and I could see it. I went out of town to pick up my sister. Had a shipment coming in for some dope, and when I got back, man, I could tell you, it was probably one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed. Was like everybody that I had contact with from my people that were get stuff from me,
Right.
disappeared.
Really?
Like, I couldn't get a hold of nobody. They moved. They changed their phone numbers.
That's crazy.
It was like, it was the craziest thing, man. Like, you could call that number and it would just be like, number's no longer in service. Like,
That's amazing.
or it would go like
that's
straight.
like you were being protected.
It was crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, to a point where when I went to my brother and told him I was out, after that, we didn't speak for years.
Really?
Yeah.
And he was still in the life.
He was still in the life.
Okay.
So I know God was kind of keeping us apart, allowing me to grow in my faith. But yeah, man, it was about 3 weeks after I asked him for that he provided that out. You know, he's like, here.
That's amazing. So you
gonna show
literally
you.
had a conversation with God and said, and
Yeah,
you
man.
spoke to him like, "Hey, you want me out of this?" And then he just appeared and he just showed it, and it's amazing how he does that.
Like, it's crazy. Like, I never thought I would get to witness Christ, and to actually witness him in that way, of like just yanking me out of there. It's like I felt like I was just yanked out of there, man. Like, he's amazing.
And you definitely were, because
Yeah.
you could be in prison right now. Like you could have got caught up or shot or killed. Or,
I've been in and out of jail my whole life.
right.
You know, like, we have some officers at church that know me from my past.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's some officers that walk around the church now that
Yeah.
we know each other.
They're like, oh, that's number 56891.
Nah, you know, they were gang task force back in the day,
Yeah,
back in the
yeah.
90s. I remember those guys, man.
Okay, yeah.
I remember their faces. Yeah, so.
That's what's up. It's crazy how things circle around.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I talked to one of them. He told me one day, he was like, man, I was talking about you on a podcast.
Really?
And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, man, about where you were and how you've changed your life. And I was like, man, that's awesome, man, because who would have thought this guy would be talking about me
Right.
in a positive manner? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
This officer, like, yeah, never would have thought that in my life, man.
Do you ever look back at your past life and look back today and wonder, not wonder, but did you ever think you'd be where you're at today?
Not at all, man.
Yeah.
I didn't see myself in this position.
Wow.
I did not see myself as a Christian in any way. Like, I never thought that would have been my life. I thought I was supposed to be, you know, hood rich and a thug. You know?
More money, more problems.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, but then God had other plans, man.
Absolutely.
He had other plans. I did not expect him to move in my life the way he's moved. Yeah.
How is your life now compared to it was back then? Obviously, you're a believer. You're in the church. You know, you're married. Has that strengthened your marriage, your relationship with your children, and just community?
And I can tell you this much: it changed everything about our family dynamic. Like, it went from my daughter didn't want to go to church either. Dad don't gotta go. Why I gotta go?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're looking at us to lead. Yeah, 100%.
Just like, it was just kind of wild. So it was like, we were chaos. The household was chaos.
Okay.
It's not chaos anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Everybody's chill. Like,
The house was chaos.
Yeah.
It's not chaos anymore. That's a good quote, man. Oh, okay.
yeah, man. Once Christ came in the picture, man, the chaos was gone. It was like, whoa, it's what we've been missing.
100%. Yes.
Like, I'll tell you this. I did not know what it meant. I thought I was a good dad. 100%. I was like, man, I'm a good dad. I take care of these kids.
Right. Dropping $100 bills.
You know what I'm saying? Hey,
what y'all want to eat today?
no problems. What y'all want?
Right. Y'all want some shrimp?
You want some Jordans? I got you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so I thought I'm a good dad. I just didn't know what it meant to be a father.
Wow. That's powerful.
And it wasn't until I had a relationship with my Father in heaven that I understood it.
Preach it, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like
100%,
what love was. I didn't understand what love meant. You know, and I still struggle today. I'm not perfect in any way.
We're human.
Like I fall short all the time, but I can tell you this: I'm striving to be better.
There you go.
I'm striving to walk like Christ did. But you know, we live in the world, and it's a struggle daily.
Oh yeah, especially in this day and age.
Man.
What would you say to somebody if they asked you, "What is it to walk like Christ?"
That's a good question.
Like if you were telling like a young man that was like came up to you and said, "Hey man, I'm going through this," like what would you tell him?
Man, lead with love. Lead with love, because I don't always find myself doing that either.
Okay.
Like there's sometimes where I just be like, nah. Like the old me might pop out. I'm like, what's up? But I know that if I was leading with love, there wouldn't be an argument. There wouldn't be a negative conversation happening. Right?
It's true.
Because when you're leading with love, there's positivity in them.
Right.
Surrounding you. There's like, love is positive. Why you gotta, like, I can't stand negativity now. Like,
man,
I'm like, either. I don't know, man. I don't get stressed out anymore. Like,
you're always smiling, dude. Every time I see you, you're smiling.
Yeah. And I didn't used to.
Really?
I did not used to smile, man. I didn't, like, I was mean, man. Like, I was cool. Like, we be cool, but, like,
right.
I'll get you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, now.
You watching him, like.
Now, I'm good, man. Like, I'm happy. Life is good.
Right.
I know I'm covered. Like, we're straight. We're moving.
There you go. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
So,
I think it's amazing that you mentor the youth, and you know, I have a dad. And he was a good mentor, but at a certain point, I grew up in poverty too.
Right.
His education level, I kind of superseded that.
Right.
So there was only so much that he could teach me, and so for the longest time, I had to kind of be my own mentor. And you know, obviously, I stumbled and failed, and I was a young father too. What would you say to this generation, to someone that is struggling and is on the fence about going to church? I think there's a lot of people today who are looking for, just like back in the day, they're looking for something, but I feel like God is less visible in the modern age, especially to the youth.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone that says, man, I'm missing something, I don't know what it is? And because you do a lot of stuff with the youth building, like how do you attract these kids?
Like I said, I'm always real with them. And I'm just letting them know, hey, you think that life is everything they make it out to be. Let me tell you, there's a darkness to it that you don't even know about. Like, y'all think, you know, you see a music video, you see a movie, you think it's glamorous.
Right.
Let me tell you about the dark side of it. Nights where you can't sleep because you're looking over your shoulder.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you afraid somebody's going to kick in your door because they know you got dope money in your house. You know, there's nights where you're not sleeping.
Right.
You're sitting there with your pistol on your lap. Like, you know,
that's not a life you want to live. Yeah.
Why you want to live like that?
Exactly.
Why you want to live, like I said, in chaos? Because that's all that is. I couldn't. My anxiety was bad. Never understood why. You know. So it was like, didn't know why.
Right.
Just like, nah, you know. But
why do I feel this way? Like, you know,
yeah.
I only got like 100 enemies, but
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not the nicest person.
Right.
Not to people like that, you know. Like my neighbors, I was cool with because I always took care of them because I didn't need them snitching me out. Like, you know what I'm saying? But you know, it was just I just tell them, man, like I'm real with them, and I'm like, I promise you, you will be more fulfilled following Christ than you ever will doing anything else. Like I've never felt anything like I feel being a Christian.
Wow.
Like everything that I was doing before. There was no fulfillment in it at all.
When you decided to get baptized, tell us about that. How did you know?
Man, I can't tell you how I knew. I just, man, it felt like that's what I was supposed to do. Because I told, when I saw everything change in my life right in front of my eyes, and I felt like, oh, I'm witnessing Christ. Like he has revealed himself to me in a way most people don't get to see.
Right. True.
What am I doing? Like, why would I keep doing the things I'm doing and not turn and follow him and give my life to him?
Right.
And once I did that, I told him, I was like, I'll never look back, and I don't want to disappoint you.
Wow.
Like, I don't. Like, you did this for me. And then I start reading the Bible, and I'm like, oh, he did just more than that. Like, this man died on a cross for me. Like, and I kind of knew that, but I didn't know everything I know now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like after reading, the Bible a couple times, you start to
absolutely.
Like, I can't quote scripture all that well.
Right.
But like, I know what's going on. Like,
I tell people all the time, like, once you read it speaks to you.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it probably speaks to you different today than it did then.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you can reread the same passage, but depending on the chapter in your life, it's going to speak to you differently.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing, and I tell people all the time, like, even if you can't really read that well, like, get an audiobook, watch a YouTube video.
I do audio.
Yeah.
Every morning on the way to work, I'm listening to something. If I'm not listening to the Bible on the way to work, because I drive an hour.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like a little over an hour to work.
Yeah.
So because I work in Dallas, so from where I'm at, it's over an hour.
There you go.
But yeah, I listen to something. I'll listen to a book, or I'll listen to the Bible in the mornings, just to get my mind right. And then usually when I get to the office, I get there so early, I'll try to have a little bit, 15, 20, 30-minute quiet time. Do some reading, some more reading. I like to look stuff up and try to find references and
for sure
commentaries to kind of understand those verses a little bit deeper. And I learned that from some guys I'm in a Bible study with.
Okay.
Yeah. Like,
tell us about that. Do you think it's important for a man or husband, father, to Bible study with other men? How important is that for you in your life?
Oh man, I think I'd probably just be walking around acting like a Christian if I wasn't surrounded by men that hold me accountable.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, anybody can fake it.
That's true, man. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
There's a lot of people out there that can fake it and tell you they're doing something they ain't doing.
Right.
But these men hold you accountable. They're good men. Yeah, they're all younger than me, but they're good men. I'm the oldest one in the group.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's all good. They're good men. I really enjoy their company, man. And
there you go.
Like, I always tell them, y'all a bunch of nerds. I was like, but you know what? I say,
yeah,
I'm loving hanging with you nerds.
I got
like,
you just got me canceled now. Cancel culture. I ain't down with that.
No, we ain't with that.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's funny.
That's what I tell them. It's a joke to us. They always tell them. And they're all smart guys, man. Right. Got some scientists in there.
Dang.
Like, these dudes are intelligent young men, and I'm like, I'm kind of impressed by them. And I'm like, okay, y'all doing it.
Well, you're doing it too, brother, and you're very impressive too, man. And what you're talking about, I don't know if you've seen this movie. Have you seen this called The Forged?
I haven't.
Well, The Forge. It's a Christian film. It just came out like 3-4 weeks ago. Me and my wife went to go see it. It's a powerful movie.
I'm going to check it out.
Recommendation. It's called The Forge, or Forged, I believe.
Okay.
And I'm not going to ruin it for you, but there's Bible study in it. It's very powerful. Okay. And I'm actually thinking of getting like a card together and giving it to Harvey so he can take some of those kids.
Oh yeah.
It's such a good film. But it's centered around what you just said, like having men that hold you accountable and that are in the Word.
It's been the best thing for me, man. And we're all in a group chat, and those group chats get kind of hectic at times. Like, but the knowledge is being passed around amongst ourselves it's good, man. I've made some good friends out of this.
That's awesome.
Like, guys I didn't think I'd be hanging out with for sure.
Yeah.
I see some of these guys, I'm like, I would never have hung out with you. In my past, like, I'm thankful that I am where I'm at now.
That's for funny. Sure, No, I mean, no, I hear what you're saying, man. A lot of my buddies they either OD'd or they're in prison or they're dead. So I know what you mean. And, like, there's a verse in Scripture, and I'm gonna paraphrase a bit, where it says, like, if your right hand causes you to sin, like, cut it off, so to speak, right? So sometimes we have to not necessarily dismiss, but we have to get away from people that are going to drag us down, especially if they're not trying to walk into life. I've stumbled myself in the past, and one thing that I do is when I stumble, I immediately repent and try to be accountable.
For sure.
that doesn't mean that the damage hasn't been caused.
Right.
But running away from it, like Jonah,
Oh yeah.
no one wants to end up in a big fish.
You're gonna get pulled back in, right? You're gonna.
Right.
He knows.
Yeah.
He's gonna reveal that to everyone anyway.
Amen.
So like for me, man, if I know I stumble, I'm gonna let these dudes know.
Right.
Yeah, because they gonna hold me accountable.
Right.
And they're gonna be there for me.
There you go.
You know, so I know I can depend on them.
I love that.
I didn't have that a lot. You know, coming up, you couldn't depend on anybody.
No.
People were usually only around for the money,
Right.
and the free dope,
Or the backstab you.
You know, or the backstab you. One of the two.
Yeah.
So it's like to have guys that want to be around you just because, like you're walking with them on this this journey of life. You know, it's an awesome feeling, man.
Yes, it is.
Like I say, I feel more fulfilled in that moment than I ever did partying with my boys back in the day. Like,
Really?
yeah, man, because where they at now?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, where they at now?
Right. Either 6 feet deep or they're in a cell block or...
Or they just don't want to be around because you ain't providing,
Right.
you know, a party for them, or you're not providing dope for them, or whatever, you know, so...
There's this old school saying that I used to hear back in the day. It's like, you know, sometimes it's like crabs in a bucket, right? You know, as the crabs are trying to get out, they're stepping on each other and they're pulling each other down. And I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And sometimes people can, not to be negative, some people may get jealous or be envious because they're like, oh, he got out and, you know, he thinks he's better than us. Because I heard that a lot. Like, you think you're better? You want to be? I'm like, man, I want to live a better life for my wife and my kids. And
that's just what it's about, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like once you get a taste of it, too, it's like, and you see how good it is.
Right.
Just walking with Christ and living this life.
Yes.
Man, it's, I don't know. It's undeniable. Like,
It really is.
I think that was one of the hard things, too, talking about that, just people seeing the change in you. My in-laws, I think that's where they came around to, okay, we're good now.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, because I think in the beginning of it, though, they didn't understand because I was ripping their daughter out of the Catholic Church. They're devout Catholics.
Right. El diablo, here comes the devil.
You know, but...
in so many ways.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a deacon at the church.
Yeah.
And they're very proud. They tell everybody all the time. So I'm like, yeah, that makes me happy that they're proud of me that way.
100%.
You know, but yeah, they struggled with that decision. They did. Right. They definitely struggled, and then
are they still devoted Catholics?
They are, but during COVID, they started coming to our church because our church was the only one open.
That's right.
You know, like we were closed for a little while, then it opened back up, and you know,
sprayed the seats down. And everything.
You know what I mean? They were cleaning.
That.
Yeah,
for sure.
They started coming to our church, and now my mother-in-law's there. If she's in town, she's there every weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think my father-in-law still struggles. You know, he wants to still go to the Catholic Church. That's how he was raised. He's 75 now.
Right.
Still plays baseball.
Really?
Yeah, crazy. He's at a tournament right now.
What? At 75?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That dude's wild.
That's
I love
good.
him. But yeah, they go now, and yeah, it's just, man, it's awesome. Just like to see people that knew you back then, to see that change in you, and for them to understand why they see that change and what that change is.
Right.
It can change them.
100%. Sometimes the only example of the Bible is the way that we live our lives, especially to non-believers or believers, people that have been hurt. So your in-laws, they probably were praying for you for a long time, right?
Oh, I bet.
And I think a lot of those prayers were answered.
I think so.
And there was probably a lot of forgiveness. Talk to us a little bit about forgiveness. Like, what does that mean to you as a Christian to forgive someone that's either you forgiving yourself or someone wronging you, and or even someone forgiving you? Like, what does that look like to you?
I mean, I don't think people understand, like, when you can forgive somebody, the weight that's lifted off your shoulders. Like, some of that stuff can be heavy.
Right.
Like, if you're walking with that, like, every day, I say it this way, man. I don't believe in giving people power over me. And I think when I'm mad at someone, or someone's angered me in a way, if I'm thinking about them, I'm giving them power over me that they don't even know they have.
So true. Yes.
And so why would I want to do that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do that anymore. So why not just forgive them and just move on with my life and keep moving? Like, I don't. If they wronged me, I don't have to be a part of their life.
Right.
But I can tell them it's cool, we good.
Right.
Like, I ain't worried about it.
Just
but
keep it moving.
we ain't got to kick it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. We're not gonna do that. You know. So, I think forgiveness, it's a big part of it. You have to be able to forgive people. If you don't, man, and you got to walk with that, it could be heavy, and you might need to see a therapist over it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because depression and all that's real, man.
Absolutely.
So it's like,
I've seen my share of therapists. Like, I'm
so
right there
I
with
haven't.
you.
My kids tell me I need one all the time, but
I know a couple good ones I can refer you to.
for sure. Yeah. No, you know what I mean? Like, if you're walking with that stuff and you can't forgive people for things they've done to you, you're living with it. It's gonna eat you up.
100%. At that point, you're choosing to live with whatever it is, pain, resentment, anger.
It just doesn't work, man.
What about forgiving yourself? Like,
That took me a long time to do, man.
Really?
Like, and there's days where I'm like, I struggle with it still because
to walk.
I know the things I did, and there's things I can't say and that have happened in my life that,
right, absolutely,
you know,
and things you can't change.
I can't change it.
Absolutely.
That's a big struggle. I definitely have to stay prayed up for sure.
Yes.
I have to do that every morning. That's why I like to read in the mornings. I like to make sure that, man, because if I'm not talking to him, I'm gonna struggle throughout the day. And it could be anything. Any little thing could be like, oh man, just put me in that mode where I'm like, man, I did that. Why would he save me?
100%.
You know what I mean? That was one of the things I struggled with.
Why did he choose you?
After, you know, when I first got saved, it was like, I'm all in, let's go. And then this reality hit me a couple years in. It was like, he saved me. Why me? Why am I special?
Right. Yeah.
Not realizing that we're all special, and he tells us that
we're all his children.
We're all his children, and if my children are special to me, why are we not special to him? Right?
True.
Like, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
Like, we're all special to him.
Spitting facts, man. Even people that don't have their dad in their life, they have a father.
I grew up without a dad.
Oh, did you?
I didn't meet my dad's house in my 30s.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he doesn't speak English.
Gotcha.
And so
you don't speak Spanish?
I don't speak Spanish.
Oh, dang.
So that was a hard conversation. But no, I had a half sister that was there, and she kind of translated for us. But
okay,
it was a struggle, man. I met him. I didn't grow up with one, man. So I know that struggle.
Right.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone that grew up without a father? Because, like you said earlier, like, we have a father. Like,
yeah, I mean, man, that's tough. That's tough. I know. That's a tough line to walk, right? Because you don't have that guidance, man.
Right.
That you don't have a manly figure in your life. No kind of mentor that's a man.
Right.
Being raised by a woman, nothing wrong with being raised by a woman.
Right. You can counsel me again, bro. Women are strong.
Women are strong, man. I've done the stay-at-home dad thing.
Yeah,
and
tough job.
I got a lot more respect for women after that.
100%.
That is a tough job.
It is. Yes.
I don't take that for granted whatsoever. Like, I get it, but I think without a man in your life, especially for young men,
absolutely, yes,
they can go off the rails real quick, man.
But we were designed to lead, and it's kind of like a powerful tool or weapon. And if you don't necessarily train it or mentor, then it can be destructive.
Yeah.
And that's something I grew up with a dad.
Yeah.
But like I said, like there's a part where it just wasn't relatable to a certain point. I entered a different atmosphere of life and education and the world and technology that he just couldn't meet me at. Still love him. Still gives me consejos, which is life advice in Spanish to this day. And he'll be 80 this next June, and he's still out there mowing lawns. Retired man, but he's still
that's my father-in-law.
hustling. You know what I mean?
These guys are tough. Man.
Yeah.
My father-in-law is Mexican dude. So,
okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. He's a tough dude, man. I love him.
What would you say? What is your definition of a Christian husband?
Ooh, That's a tough one. I might not have a good answer for
Oh.
that. No,
I won't get you in trouble.
No, man. I think, and I struggle with this. We still. That's why my kids are like, y'all need marriage counseling, because we still argue.
Okay.
I mean, it's life, but
Yeah, it's everybody.
Yeah. I think, and we don't do this enough. Me and her, we don't pray together enough.
Man, you know what? I feel so bad with that, and because, and not to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
like I've led men's groups, I've done single men's groups, I've had people at my house and Bible study with them, and my wife does her thing too with her groups, and she was just like, you know what? We never Bible study together, and I was just like, man, you're so right. In our first ministry is our family.
Man, I know it.
You know what I mean? So I felt like I dropped the ball there too. But my bad, you were
no, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
I think it could definitely, I could definitely be better in that aspect of actually just taking that time to, because she's super devoted. She gets up in the morning, she reads, does her
she got her
quiet
highlighter and all that.
She's got her highlighter. She's got her journal.
That's my wife, bro.
Man, like she's better than me, like in the sense of like she is.
Yeah.
But she's really smart.
Yeah.
And so very book smart. I didn't have that. So like listening to an audiobook is easier for me than actually reading it until I hear something that catches my ear. Then I'll go back and I'll reread that several times to get it and try to understand it. That's a good study too. Yeah, and but she's a lot better at it than me, man. I love her to death, but she's a good woman, and
well, it sounds like you guys are equally yoked.
Now,
of course,
now
because you got Christ in the center.
Yeah. I think it definitely makes things easier. I'd say we probably argued more before Christ. Now it's just minor stuff.
For sure.
It's nothing.
And it's a different type of argument, right?
Yeah,
it's not like it used to be.
Yeah, it's not serious.
It's not cat and dogs. It's just kind of like, oh, all right, well.
Yeah. And I'm usually just like, okay. Like, I don't even want to argue. Right. But I'm stubborn. I know that, so she probably just like wants to wring my neck sometimes, but it's all good.
Yeah, but it's a blessing to be married.
Oh, man.
He who finds a wife, it's a good thing. It's been a blessing for my relationship too, man. Again, we all make mistakes and stumble and stuff like that, but it's just like even holding my wife's hand and just feeling like we're supposed to be together, and then with God, I feel stronger there. And I feel like we actually just celebrated 17 years this past Monday.
Man, congratulations!
Thank you. And some people are like, "Wow, that's a long time," and I'm just like, "Man, it is." But then I've known older cats who've been married for like 50 years, and I'm like, they must have gone through some really stuff.
That's my in-laws. Man.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? Like,
and I want to be like that.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to say, you know what, to my children, hey, whatever you go through with your spouse, you can get through it together and with God as that foundation.
I think, that was the cool thing about my family dynamic was that my older kids being able to witness the lifestyle we lived for the longest time.
Okay.
And now this lifestyle we live now, like we had people at our house every weekend.
Really?
Like just drinking, hanging out. I had a meat guy. He would hook me up with like brisket.
So you had all the connects.
I had all these connects, man. So I had a deep freezer full of tenderloins and ribeyes. So every weekend, we'd grill out.
Okay.
We're grilling steaks, man. Everybody's coming over, hanging out. We're drinking. We're watching UFC. We're doing something crazy.
Right.
And so it was like they were used to that. And then when Dad got saved, nobody was at the house.
Really?
I was like, nah.
Just got quiet.
Threw out all the alcohol.
There you go.
Quit drinking. Quit drinking for like 9 years now.
Really? Wow. That's
I say that.
Congrats.
I say that.
Right.
But I've had a drink here and there socially, just one.
Right. Absolutely.
Nothing too crazy. But I don't need it.
Right.
And I can have that one and be.
You have self-control.
I'm good now. Sure. Before, nah, we getting
drinking like a fish.
We're gonna crack that bottle. we finishing that bottle.
Yeah, I'm a Marine, man. So like we used to drink like fishes back in the day. So
I don't need it now. But like if I'm my company that I work for, we have a business dinner.
Right.
I'll have a drink socially with someone. Some of our clients or vendors or something. Yeah.
Right. Because it's no longer your idol.
Not at all. Like, I know when I'm done, I'm going home.
Right.
I'm going to sleep because I love sleep.
Yes.
Like, I didn't know how much I love sleep until I changed my life.
Right. Because now you can actually sleep.
Yeah.
You're
and
not,
peacefully.
Yes. You're not worried about what was that noise? Did that door open? Why is that dog
man.
barking? Someone in my backyard?
No more paranoia.
There you
No
go.
more anxiety. Like, I'm not anxious anymore.
So it's true freedom, right?
Yeah. Like, it's amazing how free you can be just by walking with him, man.
I love that.
Like, it is the greatest feeling ever. To be able to go home. Just be like, you know what? I'm going to sleep. I'm going to go take a nap.
Yes.
And then get up feeling good.
Yes. And
You
it's a
know
blessing
what I'm
just
saying?
to
Like,
have a family.
and just to, come out of the bedroom and be like, there's the family. The house is good. Okay, we're good. Like, God is so good.
Yes. Amen.
Like,
I love that.
We take a lot of that for granted, man. And
That's so true.
I think, especially if you don't know Christ, you take all that for granted. Because I did for years.
Me too.
But seeing it now, and then being able to look back at my life and seeing where God was the whole time. Not even realizing he was with me when I was doing it.
That's crazy. Right.
But looking back and saying, whoa, he was there. Like, man, how did I not know that? Dude?
Right.
Like, I was so blind to it.
You're not blind no more.
Not anymore, man. He gave me the sight.
Yes.
And when he did, it was like over.
Right.
Like
in the Bible where it says the scales fell off the eyes of that one person.
Yeah.
It's just like,
it was
crazy.
Yeah, also, was Paul, right? He was out killing Christians. And then what happens? He gets blinded. And Christ comes to him and witnesses to him. And then the next thing you know, what's happening? He's writing most of the New Testament.
Right.
So
there you go.
It's like,
God can use anybody, right?
God can use anybody.
It's his
man.
plan, not our plan.
And that's the reality I had to face when I have those doubts. It's like, man, God used Paul, who was killing Christians. It's like,
That's crazy.
And I'm just me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
but and God is using you,
man.
and
Yeah.
And you're teaching these kids and your family, and it's just like he's using me, and it's just I think that's the amazing part of it, is that he chose us to be a part of his plan when he doesn't even need us.
He doesn't need me.
You know what I mean? But he wants that relationship.
He can come down right now and just put the smack down on everybody.
Yeah.
But he wants us to do this for him.
That's
and
right.
help minister to these people. But
Amen.
like, that's why, man, for the youth, it's a big deal for me because I know how I lived as a youth. And I know what these young people can get into. And so I put a lot of my focus in there. Yeah, just because I don't want to see them make the same decisions I made, man.
Wow.
Like, it's not a good way to look at life. It's not a good way to live life. Like, I tell them all the time, this is the best life you'll ever live.
Right.
Walking with him, man.
There you go.
He's walking beside us and we don't even know it.
That's true. No, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, to wrap it up, and this has been amazing. I appreciate you,
I appreciate
taking
you,
the time.
Yeah.
You said you watched UFC fights. So to wrap it up, who's your favorite UFC fighter?
Oh, man.
It could be older or new.
So I was a big Chuck Liddell
fan.
fan.
Chuck, Iceman. Yes.
Iceman, Chuck Liddell. I was a big Chuck Liddell fan. I was watching back then a lot.
Right.
I don't watch it as often as I do now, but right now, I like Valentina Shevchenko.
Yes.
She's like one of my
Bullet.
favorites. Yeah, the
Yes.
Bullet, man. She's one of my favorites.
Yes.
So love it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'll have to have you over for UFC.
Hey, let's do it
sometime.
I'm ready.
Maybe when McGregor comes back or something.
I like him, but he's wild.
He's wild. Yes, he is. Yes. Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast,
Yes, sir.
man.
Hey, thank you.
And thank you for so much everything you do for the community and the church.
I
And
appreciate it, man.
It's amazing.
Yes, sir.
I admire you a lot, and thanks for jumping on the podcast, man. We'll do this again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
You guys make sure to like and subscribe, and like Robert said, just get in the Word and just seek Him. Y'all be good.